Continuing my experience with A Wrinkle in Time, we have the original film adaptation. Finally, a 20-year memory resolved. Read the description for my origin story with this thing, along with seeing the trailer that I saw for it. And, well, I'm glad to have finally watched that. I'm kind of torn with this thing because, long story short, as an adaptation of the book, I don't think that this was that good. As a movie, it's fine, but the weird thing is, I felt like the differences were actually better than the scenes that were much closer to the book, almost, because... Okay, so the main thing that I talked about in the book and that its main strength was the world building. Obviously, in a movie, you can't spend multiple pages discussing what everything looks like. You just gotta show it and then throw in the occasional sentence to give you more information. So, obviously, we can see all the landscapes of Ural, Camazot's, and Aunt Beast's home planet. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that one. But the problem is, when they were trying to introduce all that stuff, Ural, they do that just fine. Camazot's, on the other hand, if I recall correctly when I was watching that, I think the first time that they mention Camazot's is when the three kids are teleported. I know that's not the actual term, but regardless, teleported to Camazot's, and Calvin's looking around going, this is Camazot's? Now, to be fair, okay, maybe I missed it, because I don't know about you, but I found some dialogue in this movie decently hard to hear. Like, I had to have the volume on my TV turned up to twice what I normally have it, and no, I'm not talking about going from like volume 6 to volume 12. No. I'm talking volume 24 to 40 plus. Okay? And the TV speakers that I've got go up to 100. Huh? So that says something. I had a tough time listening to some things in there. Plus, this doesn't have subtitles, which is not always a bad thing, but at the same time, if you look at the back of this thing, you see just how little is there. Right. And by the way, why does it says copyright 2011? This came out in 03 or 04, if I recall correctly, but yeah, like, that's the first time you mentioned Camazot's, right when you're teleported to there. So that really gives the impression that the filmmakers wanted you to have read the book before you saw the movie. Well, that's understandable, because the majority of people out there probably wouldn't know about that unless they read the book or by chance saw a trailer and then liked it, which is what happened with me. But nonetheless, when you're making a movie that is directly based on a book and is very closely trying to follow the book, so it's not a loose adaptation, you want to make it so it's good both for people that have read the book and not read the book. You don't want to lean so far to where it's like, yeah, you had to have read the book for it to make sense. But, you know, like, that doesn't go over that well. And also, the scene where Aunt Beast, who isn't named, but I don't mind that fact, she's trying to pass along the message to Meg that it isn't just a dark cloud surrounding the planet that needs conquering. It's the dark cloud that's within yourself. So then we have the scene that isn't in the book where Meg talks to another version of herself, which I thought was a great scene, except for one problem, which is the same problem with the Aunt Beast scene, even without that bit included. The problem is, they didn't include enough dialogue in my mind to fully justify the process of Meg going from point A to point B. I felt that way with a lot of other scenes in the movie, like the introduction of it, where the free misses, or also with the happy medium, and they're sending them on the way. If you had included little bits of dialogue in addition to that, so we're talking probably 30 seconds more footage across the entire movie, then you would have done a better job of getting things from point A to point B better. So, if you had done a little bit more of that, I felt like that this movie would have transitioned just a lot better, and it would have just helped prepare us in various ways. I had the same issue with the Paul W.S. Anderson Resident Evil movies, where if a little bit more dialogue had been included in movies 3 and 6, you would have been able to transition a lot better between movies 2 and 3 and 5 and 6. Not that I really care about the fifth one of those being ignored, but regardless. So, like when they were trying to do scenes from the book verbatim, it faltered. But then, if you look at the scenes that they're doing differently from the book, such as the introduction of all the main characters, Meg talking with her mother about not doing as well in school and how other people think that she's weird, Meg's mother talking to Ms. Whatsit differently, all of that I felt was fine, honestly, because the contemporary language did need a bit of updating. Also, Meg's mother to Ms. Whatsit in this adaptation I felt was better than the book, but that's a personal preference. And also, the little scenes that they did to pad out the book, showing the free misses with the happy medium, looking at the children going, oh no, in a couple of instances, that was good. The showing a little more of Camazotz, that was a nice touch. I love the fact that they did that. Characterizing Mrs. Witch differently. At first, I didn't like the fact that they were showing her as a full materialization and making her less trusting of the kids. But then, once you have the bit where Meg is talking to Aunt Beast and then is also reproaching basically everyone for going, why'd you leave Charles Wallace behind and all that stuff? And then reminding Mrs. Witch that even though Charles Wallace has a lot of qualities, he's still just a young boy. Yeah. Once you had all of that, suddenly, I didn't care one bit that Mrs. Witch was done differently. If anything, I felt like that they improved it. Yeah. So, that's a weird bit, because normally when movies do things differently than the book that they're based on, you would think that people would be complaining, but actually, again, I feel like all the different things that they did here, like having the red-eyed guy be the main villain of the piece and it being a more background character. Now, I would have liked it to have been there a bit more, but only a bit more. Like, you could have had it in the background and then have it be channeling the red-eyed person, which, to be fair, Charles Wallace does say that's what's happening anyway, okay? But yeah, the differences were fine, and it was the close adaptation bits that stinked in my eyes, which is one reason why I'm torn with this, because do I think that they were trying with this? Yes, I do, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel like that this came out the best way, because I wouldn't be too surprised if a bit of that had to do with the fact that they changed it from being a mini-series to, can't remember if that got a theatrical release or straight to home video. I really can't remember what Wikipedia said, and I don't feel like looking it up because it's an irrelevant fact, but there were multiple clips from this film's trailer, okay, that didn't appear in the final product, but without question they shot them, because if you watch the trailer, you see the bit where Meg's father is going Hank, what's going on there? Well, if you read the book, you would know that Hank was the original person that was sent through the Tesseract, but then never came back. So then that's why Meg's father went through. And also, so if you watch the trailer, you get the impression that while Meg, Calvin, and Charles Wallace are running away, the government is coming to the house and is like about to seize it. And a little bit of that exists in the final product because there was a strobe light effect that I distinctly remember, and Calvin's looking behind him repeatedly as if he's nervous about them being followed. Now granted, he might be looking back going, well, what's their mother going to think? But if you listen to the scene itself, you realize that Meg's mother, while a bit concerned, wasn't nearly concerned enough to run to the door after them. She was like, huh? Where are you going? Huh? So what's up with that? But of course, given how this was made 20 years ago, has no special features, there's another adaptation of it that came out, and given how, if you look at the back here, one, it says that it has a copyright date for 2011, when, again, I think that this came out in 2003, and also when it's giving credit to Alfre Woodard, her main credit, despite having a lot of things to her name at the time when this came out, is the TV show A Series of Unfortunate Events. That came out about 15 years after this did. So all of that, along with the fact that this has really no menu to speak of, it's just scene selection and play movie, that's it. And the credits for that are pitiful, okay? Just pitiful. But between all of that, yeah, good luck trying to find somebody who can really describe what went behind the scenes with that movie and why they changed their long-term plan, yeah. But again, I really do feel like that they were trying with this, because all the misses, they did a good job acting out their characters, even though I feel like that Mrs. Who could have done a little bit more with her dialogue, because Mrs. Whatsit, she got close enough that I'm okay with that, and Mrs. Witch, because of the differences that she did, it worked there, but Mrs. Who kind of fell flat. And then the dialogue where Meg and Charles Wallace are all like describing each other and such. A lot of it is taken from the book, not all of it, and they changed little bits of it, but the general idea of it is there. But again, if they just done it a little bit more, because unfortunately Meg's actor, in a few scenes, she really did fall flat on the emotional side, and I really hope that they weren't trying to go super hard for a Kristen Stewart look-alike, because if you didn't know any better, you would swear that this is Kristen Stewart before Twilight, because starting with Twilight, she really adapted a different look. But if you've seen Catch That Kid or Speak, yeah, Meg's actor really does look like her, but I don't know, there was just something. I would have liked a little bit more from her than that. Oh yeah, and then her moments with Calvin, I almost forgot to discuss that. Well, again, the bits that are much closer to the book, it didn't work, but the things that were different than the book, such as where instead of them kissing right before the main battle, Calvin goes, I'd kiss you, but your father is here. That I thought was great, both for the joke and Meg's reaction, which is like, probably, although you got the idea that she wasn't embarrassed or opposed to that at all. So that's why I'm torn with it, because the difference is, I thought we're fine, but the actual adaptation closer to the verbatim side, fell kind of flat. And then let's not even discuss how the happy medium joke wouldn't even hold up in today's world. No, I'm not anti-trans people, but I'm just saying that's what a lot of people would be thinking of if they saw that scene, right? So, final rating on this? As an adaptation of the book, not good. As a kid's movie, it's okay. So, critique-wise, 2 out of 5. Personal, I guess I'll be generous and give it 3 out of 5. Right, so hopefully I got everything across in this take that I wanted. I think this is take 5 or something like that. See ya.